Welcome back, guys. Time for another Warcraft Total War faction preview video, and this time I'm doing the Kingdom of Lordaeron, although now it's called the Alliance of Lordaeron, but you know, same thing. I think in the most recent patch they changed the name, and this is the second human faction that I'm doing. I already did the Scarlet Crusade, and that seemed to be a pretty popular one. A lot of people were interested, and because this is also a human faction, a lot of the units are going to be the same. For example, just regular human footmen and human archers and so on. However, I chose Lordaeron because Lordaeron has quite an extensive unit roster. They have a lot of special units. They even have some, I'm not sure if these are elves or if they were trained by elves, but the Silver Pine Rangers. But we'll talk about them later. Okay, they're humans trained by the elves. But yeah, a lot of unique units. A lot of really good units as well. And like usual, we're going to start off with one of the weaker units, the human spear militia, and these guys are absolutely terrible. They don't even have a... They're spearmen, but they don't have the bonus against cavalry. That just never get these guys. Even as a garrison, I would say they're not worth it. Low attack, low defense, no armor penetration, nothing good. And on top of all that, just like a lot of other low tier units like the orc, peons, or whatever, these guys wander around, and so it causes a lot of chaos in your alliance. Look at that, they're just like all over the place. I then lined them up. They were supposed to all be hugging the wall, but they're, I guess, unruly and unreliable. Next up we have the sword militia, and same thing. Really bad stats, slightly better defense, but still horrible. And they have that same trait as the spearmen. They wander around, they don't hold the line. Just totally terrible. Never get them. Next, we finally have a good unit, the human pikemen. By the way, this is how they look without the armor upgrades. With the armor upgrades, they have plate armor on their chest, arms, legs. But I wanted to show what they look like without that. And so the total defense stat also increases as you get the armor upgrades. I think they can go up to 9 defense. And yeah, the human pikemen, they're not bad. They're not the best pikemen in the game, but they have the bonus against cavalry. They can do a spear wall, which makes them more effective. And yeah, they're okay. I would say if you're fighting a faction that has strong cavalry, definitely recruit these guys. And they're affordable. 650, not too bad. Then we have the infantry backbone of Lordaeron, and they're not bad. Again, you can increase their defense by giving them armor upgrades. So the considering it's 14 without the upgrades, that's pretty good. Oh, and this is how they look when you get those upgrades. They get shoulder pads, they get a chest plate. Good stuff. Attack is a little bit low, but I think they make up for it with the defense. And also, they can make a shield wall, which makes their defense even higher. So considering how much they cost, they're pretty good. Definitely worth recruiting. Then we have the dismounted paladins, which I think every single human faction has, and they're a very good unit, very solid kind of shock troops. 14 attack, 24 defense, 3 hit points, so very durable. And on top of all that, they also have armor penetration, so definitely one of the most elite units that you can recruit as Lordaeron. Another very elite unit are these guys, the Lordaeron Royal Guard, and as the name suggests, this is a special and unique unit that only Lordaeron can recruit, and they look really cool. I like these big axes, or what's it called, halberd. Really nice helmets. It's like tier 5 paladin armor. That's what the helmet looks like. And they also have very good stats: 12 attack, 14 defense, 3 hit points. They can do a spear wall. They have armor penetration. And then on top of all that, they're fairly cheap considering how good the stats are. So I would say definitely recruit these guys if you can. Then we have the human sergeants. They're just the basic human spearmen, and same thing with the human footmen and human pikemen. You can upgrade the armor of these guys quite a bit. Right now they have almost nothing on, but when you upgrade them, they look like that. And they're not bad. They're like pretty kind of mid-tier spearmen. They can do the Shilthrom, which is pretty good, makes them even more effective. Attack is a little bit low, but they make up for it with their high defense. And then we have these guys, which are pretty special. I think Lordaeron might be the only faction that can recruit them, and they look really, really good. The Paladins of the Silver Hand. They are kind of an upgraded version of the dismounted Paladins. And they have amazing stats: 15 attack, 26 defense. This image is incorrect. I think they used to look like that, but then a couple of patches ago they changed it. So 26 defense, very high, 3 hit points, armor penetration, bonus against cavalry, so you can use them very effectively against cavalry as well. Just really good, really cool looking. It's very fun using these guys in action, and very good as shock troops as well. Then we have another militia unit, the bow militia. Pretty terrible, but I would say out of all the human militia units, out of the spearmen and the swordsmen, the bow one is worth the most because they're low morale and whatever else. It doesn't impact them as much because you can put them in a safe place away from the enemy on top of a wall, and they can do some damage without crumbling instantly like the spearmen. And then we have a more proper archer unit. Definitely recruit these guys a lot. They are a lot better than they seem. The stats look kind of weak, right? 5 attack, 7 defense, 7 missile attack. However, I don't know why, but they were given the armor penetration trait, and so every time they're kind of a mix of crossbowmen and regular archers, because usually crossbowmen, they have the armor penetration, but they don't have the long range. But these guys, they have both. They have long range and they have armor penetration, so they're much better than the vast majority of archers that I've seen in this mod. Definitely recruit them, and they're very cheap as well. And here we have human crossbowmen. So they have armor penetration as well, but they don't have long range missiles. So definitely, whenever you can, prioritize the human archers over the human crossbowmen. Then we have human riflemen, and I've covered them before when I talked about the Scarlet Crusade. They're okay. Riflemen in general are a good choice, especially if you put them on the front line. They're pretty good. I would say they're a little bit expensive, but overall, because of the armor penetration, because they're using guns, I would say they're worth getting. Not bad. Then we have a unique unit. We have the Kultiras Marines, and they are basically an upgraded version of the human riflemen. But I think you can only recruit them on Kultiras, the little island south of South Shore, and pretty good. Yeah, definitely good. Nothing special, but basically everything I said about the human riflemen is true for them as well. They have armor penetration, they're good if you put them on the front line, and so on. Then we have the Priests of the Holy Light. It's a kind of mid-level spellcaster unit. Low attack, low defense, of course, but they do have 2 hit points, which is pretty good. However, I would say the missile attack is kind of low considering how few of them you have. Usually, if you have a small number of spellcasters, that has to be balanced out with a higher missile attack. But with them, they have neither one of them. They're both bad. So definitely get them. Spellcasters always worth getting, but keep in mind that they're not the best. So now we have these guys, which I mistook for elves because they kind of have elven looking armor, and of course here it explains why. They are humans trained by the elves in the arts of the bow. Not as good as elven rangers, but still better than the usual archers. So yeah, pretty good. Definitely better than most missile units in the mod. Decent attack, pretty good defense. Missile attack is 13, that's really good. And they have similar traits to the human archers. They're effective against armor. They have long range missiles, so pretty good, pretty solid. Definitely get these guys. Then we're going to look at some more spellcaster units. The mages. Pretty good. Not the best, but pretty good. Missile attack is 13, so that's higher than the priests. However, their number is very low. But definitely recruit them. They're a little bit expensive. Oh, wrong one. They're a little bit expensive, but you know, spellcasters I would say are always worth the cost. And then we have the conjurers, and they're a little bit worse. Their missile attack, their magic attack is 12, while for the mages it's 13. But overall they're pretty similar. But yeah, not the best, but definitely worth recruiting. And now we're going to talk about cavalry. Regular human cavalry. Pretty good. The attack is kind of low, but you can get their defense up pretty high because they can get a lot of armor upgrades. But yeah, not the best. And then you have eagles, which are even worse. They do have the armor penetration and they frighten nearby enemies, but they die way too quickly. They're not, and they kind of look lame in my opinion, so I usually avoid recruiting eagles. And then we have the Knight's Bodyguard. So this is every time you have a general, most of the time this is going to be their bodyguard unit, and I use them very effectively during my human campaigns. They're very good. 10 attack might seem a little bit low, but I think it's made up for the really high defense, and you can upgrade the armor even more. Fairly good. And I think they have 0 upkeep, which makes them very affordable. You can just keep adopting family members and it'll work out. You can have a bunch of heavy cavalry. So next up we have units in the AI army, because Lordaeron has such a huge roster, I couldn't fit all of them. So here we have the flying machines, which they obtained from the dwarves. You can see 2 dwarves. Actually, here there's a bug. You can't see them, but you're supposed to have 2 dwarves piloting it. And it's not bad. It's a little bit expensive for what it can do. Really bad melee attack, but it's durable. And the missile attack, they throw grenades at the enemy. It's not too bad. Let's find the remaining AI stuff. Trebuchet, it's the same as the trebuchet in, Medieval 2 vanilla. It's alright if you use it effectively. It can be very effective. Then we have the mud golems. These guys are really OP. 23 attack, 40 defense, 12 hit points. They boost morale of your units, they scare enemy units, they have a special attack. Extremely good. They cost 4k, that's a little bit expensive, but I'd say they're definitely worth it. Then we have Mounted Paladins. This is an extremely good unit and very fun to use because they have high attack, 18, very, very high defense, 33, 8 hit points, armor penetration, and then the part that makes them kind of special, they're fast moving, right? They fly, so you can very quickly get them to go from one part of the battlefield to another part of the battlefield. Very versatile, very easy to use, very durable. Then we have the human Great Cannon. It's the same as the Great Cannon in Medieval 2 Vanilla, so nothing special. We have a mortar team. It's the same as, the mortar team in Vanilla, nothing special. And what else do we have? Oh, this is a special Lordaeron heavy cavalry unit. The Knights of Tyr, 14 attack, that's very high for heavy cavalry, 29 defense and 2 hit points, so they're very tough, definitely worth recruiting. And the very last unit that we're going to talk about is the Steam Engine. I've talked about them before. They're unfortunately bugged. Their missile attack doesn't work, and that's kind of the whole purpose of them, so they can use their cannon and shoot far away. And they're very expensive, so they can still do the melee attack and they have high defense, but I would say it's not worth it because of the bug or glitch that makes it so they can't use their cannon. And yeah, that's it. That's the whole roster. Hope you guys liked the video. If you did, please give it a like, really helps. And I'll see you guys in the next one.